Culvert for Better, strengthening Colbot's collective muscle for community resilience. Colbot is a settlement located in eastern Freetown, Sierra Leone, which stretches from the Granville Brook townsite along an estuary to the coast. The community's history can be traced back to the first families who settled there in 1964. Since then, Colbot has witnessed 4 major waves of migration, the most recent and largest wave taking place after 2002, when laborers from the provinces of Sierra Leone moved to Freetown in search of work following the Civil War. Today, it is a vibrant, young, and diverse community, with about 900 households spread across its varied landscape from the hilly areas to the coast. At present, the community faces a great number of challenges on a daily basis: waterborne diseases, malaria, and other social challenges, including theft and violence. However, 2 challenges related to location and geography are the most significant. Firstly, as a low-lying area, Colbot is exposed to flooding during the annual rainy season. This is made worse by the lack of retaining walls along the river and the buildup of household waste, which blocks major drainage channels. Waste also flows from settlements at higher elevations such as Moiba. As a result, flood impacts have grown in severity over the years. The most intense flooding episode took place in 2015, which affected over 7,000 individuals and caused mass displacement and the temporary relocation of 473 affected persons. Secondly, the Granville Brook dump site, one of Freetown's 2 major landfills, is located at the entrance of Colbot. Created in 1986, this dump site is currently over capacity and expanding into residential land. After the 2015 flood disaster, DFID and the Freetown City Council began working on a process to relocate the landfill. However, it is uncertain when this will occur. In the meantime, the site continues to pose severe health and safety risks to the community. The community's growing need for stronger social networks and financial support in response to accumulating risks is shown by the increasing number of community-based organizations. Many organizations were created after the disease outbreaks of 2012, and many more after the 2017 flooding. The citywide Transform Freetown plan, launched this January under the current Aki Sawyer administration, which is in effect until 2022, aims to build resilience against these risks by strengthening community-level governance and resource mobilization. The City Council recognizes that all actors have a role to play in this plan. Within Colbot, the major actor in recent years has been the CCDMC, the Kleintown Community Disaster Management Committee, an umbrella organization established in 2015 with the help of CRS, Catholic Relief Services, to strengthen community responses to environmental risks. The 2 major achievements of the CCDMC for Colbot's risk response were the zonal division of the community and the drainage project of 2017. After another episode of severe flooding in 2017, the CCDMC divided Colbot into 6 characteristic zones: Rockfall, Crown Base, Camp No Strain, Headquarters, Central, and Last Banking. This system is a way to coordinate local rescue and response efforts to allow for a quick identification of flood-affected persons for external aid agencies. For example, during the 2017 fire outbreak in Zone 3, people and resources were mobilized from across other zones and directed to the most affected. 2 areas are particularly flood vulnerable: Zones 3 and 6 on the coast, where the majority of land is reclaimed through banking, and Zones 1 and 4 next to the dump site. Zones 2 and 5 are relatively safer due to higher elevation, but are the location where many residents seek refuge during flooding. In 2017, the CCDMC also led a community-based drainage initiative, which brought in an excavation machine to clean waste from the major drainage channel. Roughly 160 landlords from Colbot's 900 existing households contributed 250,000 leones each to fund the initiative, totaling 40 million leones from the community, with an additional 23 million leones provided by the Red Cross. The initiative greatly reduced the impact of flooding in 2018 and was unique in that it was planned, carried out, and largely funded by the community. Despite its noteworthy success, the exercise must be repeated each year, requiring continual community funding that may be difficult for many residents to provide. In addition, The majority of tenants in Colbot are reluctant to give money due to their temporary residency or insecure tenure status. As a result, many residents say they do not have a plan for this coming rainy season. When the flooding occurs, residents will revert to last-minute individual emergency plans, such as fleeing or building small retaining walls for the house. Short-term thinking prevents the community from collaborating with external actors to achieve long-term resilience. But the community has the potential to act, as shown by its 2 successful initiatives. To understand how to build on the positive progress already made, we held 2 focus groups with residents from the most vulnerable areas, and a third with community-based organizations, where we discussed barriers and opportunities for action. We conducted surveys and in-depth interviews with key informants from all zones, including chiefs, imams, and leaders of savings groups. Finally, we invited them to co-produce strategies for long-term, collective community resilience building. Through our findings, we decided to focus on 3 pillars: partnership and coordination, equitable funding, and information sharing. Pillar 1, partnership and coordination. Colbot has a complex parallel governance structure made up of secular, religious, and traditional bodies. CBO leaders, imams, and chiefs all operate within the community, yet a lack of cooperation between the 3 bodies sometimes has led to overlapping roles and insufficient representation of the most vulnerable groups. Poor communication between leaders is exacerbated by Colbot's zonal division, which has led to greater intrazonal focus and little community-wide development. Further, unclear responsibilities among community leaders complicate interactions with external bodies such as NGOs, and critically interfering with the effective mobilization of resources at the expense of the most vulnerable.
Government or NGOs go help we for make this trouble with them people and make the rescue them. So this arrangement been there on, so NGOs put on, governments put on. But when they begin supply now, some of we chief them, then they call me again. They say why for we at the upland, the Watano and Bogwi.
In order to address this and implement Transform Freetown's plan to strengthen community governance structures and scale up existing efforts, it is important to build closer partnerships between community stakeholders. Our first proposal, therefore, is to create a single collective body consisting of chiefs, imams, and the CCDMC. A collective body can enhance collaboration between different leaders and, most importantly, give residents an accessible platform to voice their concerns. This will enhance opportunity for community engagement, long-term community-wide projects, and information dissemination. In the long run, we envision this body holding regular discussions with the community about future projects. The participatory and transparent nature of this body means that community leaders can delegate roles and responsibilities to work more effectively with external partners while strengthening partnerships with CBOs and residents. We spoke to leaders and members of 33 community-based organizations besides the CCDMC, which provide a variety of support, be that social, financial, or spiritual, to their members. Of these, 28% of organizations provide emergency financing for members in a rotational structure, 21% deal with community development and disaster risk management, and another 21% are women's savings associations. We found a significant overlap in objectives between organizations, but little collaboration among them. As a way of harnessing their strengths, we propose that CBOs begin to build closer partnerships with each other, especially those with overlapping objectives, in order to combine resources and bring people together to voice their concerns.
We have to form in the community. When we form this partnership board, so we have a very opportunity to link up with the stakeholders, elders in the community. So that's why we have tried to say about this partnership.
When collaborative, CBOs have a louder voice. They can effectively lobby the collective body as well as external stakeholders such as the government, city council, and NGOs. Pillar 2, equitable funding. Our work with CBOs revealed that the community has very effective funding capacity. 80% of organizations collect payments either weekly or monthly from their members. We found that all members are required to make the same financial contribution, despite being in a variety of different circumstances, leaving some members unable to take part as the fees are too high. We believe that the issue of equality versus equity around contributions should be addressed to create a fairer system of money collection that reflects the community's diversity in financial circumstances. As such, we suggest a graduated scheme of money collection based on the financial condition of households. Equally, there is incredible potential within Colbot to pool resources. For instance, Al-Mutaida, an Islamic organization with over 500 members, can collect up to 2,500,000 leones each month from its members. Similarly, women's savings groups alone are collectively able to raise over 1,350,000 leones each month. Although there is strong potential, our dialogues with CBO leaders show that financial issues remain the biggest challenge holding back the community-wide development projects. Even when members have available money, they may not contribute if the direction of the funds and the impact of the project are unclear. One way to overcome this barrier would be a public register of money flows created using receipts of the money spent and raised by each CBO. This data could be made easily accessible for the whole community, allowing CBOs to interact further and take suggestions or queries from members. CBO leaders and members reported that the majority of funds collected are still being used for small-scale individual projects rather than applied to community-wide development initiatives.
They form their own organization just to take care of the welfare of the members. Not for the community.
There are two reasons for this. Firstly, there is a general lack of sensitization around what can be achieved with communal spending. Secondly, there are tensions between the expectations of tenants versus landlords, with tenants often expecting landlords to contribute, while many landlords expecting external NGOs to take responsibility. To foster communal spending and promote transparency, we propose that community projects create specific and clear targets, which will emphasize the community impact of individual spending and encourage residents to think in the longer term. We are certain that the success of the 2017 drainage project can be replicated if Colbot's resource pooling is maximized. Pillar 3. Information sharing. We believe that information is power. Shifting residents' mindsets from their current reliance on external actors is a crucial step in empowering the community and demonstrating its existing resources and capacities. Colbot's community-level groups can perform 4 main tasks to produce an accurate, up-to-date picture of the settlement. 1. Facilitating participatory risk mapping across all zones so residents themselves can identify the most at-risk households in vulnerable areas. There is currently an ongoing relocation process of residents in flood-prone areas that started in 2015. When the government came in to assess residents' eligibility for relocation, they were not cooperative or fair, and selected residents were not necessarily the most in need. The risk mapping is intended both to inform the community and to identify entry points for external bodies to direct resources in a more inclusive way. 2. Conducting an enumeration of household income levels and ownership status. The data can inform more equitable funding in community projects, accounting for residents' ability or inability to pay. It can also produce data on the distribution of tenants and landlords. 3. Building an open register of CBOs across all zones, which includes where they operate, membership structure, and funding methods. This centralized database will facilitate partnership building between CBOs, encourage more active engagement, and make it easier to mobilize the community when working with external organizations in the future. 4. Building an open register of individual skills and capacities in the community. This could empower individuals, increase knowledge and skill sharing between residents, and has the potential to boost Colbot's local economy. Enumeration and data collection are key initiatives proposed by the Transform Freetown Plan, and the information Colbot produces will complement the city's zone-by-zone analysis already carried out by the City Council. We envision that the data collected could be stored and made accessible at Colbot's Information Center, which is currently being built. this provides a physical space where information and resource sharing can take place, as well as a point of contact for the community and external actors, allowing people and organizations to connect and form partnerships. Colbot's 2017 drainage project has inspired other informal settlements across Freetown to duplicate a similar community-driven project. It showed how a community can move from a situation where households are struggling to cope with disaster individually to one where households are acting for mitigation collectively. The co-produced strategy we presented in this video, based on the core pillars of partnership and coordination, equitable funding, and information sharing, should encourage similar projects in the future. These pillars allow Colbot to work more closely with the ongoing Transform Freetown initiatives and emphasize the role this community can play in improving not only their own settlement, but also the wider city as a whole. Like a muscle, Colbot's collective response to risk will grow stronger with every use. One year's strategy should build upon the previous year's successes, and so on and so forth, until the community can achieve a self-sustaining method. The successful achievement of Transform Freetown requires everyone to play an active role in building resilience, whether they reside in informal or formal parts of the city. But for the process to be truly equitable, all actors need to feel empowered. While external stakeholders continue to play a vital role in financing community development, we believe that a strong Colbot is in the best position to lobby for external resources, identify entry points for external NGOs, and work alongside the City Council. Together, they can establish a vision for the community that recognizes the needs and rights of all its diverse residents. In the journey to resilience, Demden Daba Forso. One voice is power.